In today's video clinic, I'm going to talk about captioning. Okay, I know it's not the most exciting topic to talk about when it comes to video content, but it's really important to have a look at captioning, because when we create videos, we want to make sure that our audience can consume them in the best way possible, no matter where they are watching. So you're all probably familiar with what captions are. Well, I hope you are. That's where you're watching a video and there are the words down the bottom, okay? And as the video plays, it changes depending on what is being said. Now, we call these captions. The ones that are where you can't turn them on and off are called what we call burnt-in captions. Subtitles are similar, but subtitles generally refers to when you're creating it in a foreign language. Okay, so why do we need captions? The main reason I say we need captions is that if you want to put your videos on something like Facebook or even on LinkedIn, you know, most of us are consuming this sort of content on our mobile device. And when we have a mobile device, you know, we normally don't have our headphones in, or we might be on the move, we might be on a train or a bus, it might be, and you don't particularly want to watch a video with the sound on, so the sound is off. This is why you want to have captions, so that someone can watch with the sound off, they can understand what the video is all about. The second reason why we want a caption is it does improve SEO, especially if you upload what is called an SRT file, which Google can read. We'll come on to that in a moment. I think it's if you actually have the captions on, and if they're burnt on, it's what I call a more immersive experience. So if someone does have the headphones on, or they are looking at the video on a desktop with the sound on, you know, they can see you, they can hear you, and they can read you. So it's sort of all their senses are concentrating on your video, and I believe that if they got looking at all three of these, they will certainly be more engaged with your content. Of course, in this day and age of accessibility, all the platforms want to make everything more accessible for those of hard of hearing, things like that. So that is why you also want to have captions. And another reason is to repurpose content. So if you're creating an SRT file, you know, you can actually probably download it or convert it into a Word document, for example, and then you could use that for your blogs. Try not to get too technical here, but there are two sort of different versions of captions, or what we refer to as open versus closed. Open generally means that they're what we call burnt in. So they're the ones that when you play the video, no matter what you're watching it on, the captions are there and you can't turn them off. Closed generally means that the user decides. And you've probably seen that little caption, it can sometimes on your TV, on YouTube, and other, where it says CC. And that is called closed captioning. And then the user decides whether they want to have them on or off. Now, there are loads of different services you can actually create this SCT file, okay? It actually stands for subtitle file. It's called subrep file format for some reason. But this file format is important because generally all the platforms, if you look at YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook, LinkedIn, they all understand this file size. It's a .srt file. Unfortunately, it's not a Word document, it's not a text document, it is a special file format, which is why you need to use a sort of an app or a piece of software which will make one for you. And I happen to use Rev.com. I use a paid-for service purely because of time. As a busy business owner, I do not have time to create my own captions. And I know there are many other services out there. A lot of them, you pay for them. And even YouTube have what they call their auto-captioning service, which is a bit hit and miss depending on your language and depending how clearly you speak in the video. I find if you have an American accent, it works pretty well. For someone like mine, who is sort of a mixture of English and Australian, I find these automated services struggle. So for me, with using the YouTube auto captions, you have to go and correct them. And believe you me, you have to go and correct them because they come up with all sorts of weird things that you think you're saying, and it can be quite embarrassing. So if you've got time, you could do that yourself. You can correct them in YouTube, and you can then download it as an SRT file. But if you are busy like me, I am willing to pay a service like Rev.com. It's $1 a minute, and if your videos are quite short, only a couple of minutes, then it's a couple of bucks. Quite frankly, that is well worth my time. So what we're going to do, I'm going to do some live training. So I'm actually going to go into my Rev.com account, and I'm actually going to show you exactly how I use it. Now let's have a look. Okay, so you can see my screen. This is Rev.com. If I'm going to log in, so it's $1 a minute at the moment. The price is actually going to go up to $1.25 per minute. It has gone up. It has been $1 a minute for a long time. Now Rev.com, they have a lot of services here. They can transcribe an audio file for you or your video file, and they can just give you a Word document. They do have what we call artificial intelligence for 10 cents a minute, which is automated. So that's great if you're at a conference or you've done an hour speech, you just quickly want to see what's written so you can take bits out of it to repurpose it. That works relatively well. We're looking at captions, English caption for videos. They also provide other services like foreign titles, and they can do translation for you. But we are looking at captions. So once you create a account, and at the moment, if you haven't used Rev.com before, you can try it for free. I think that they actually give you $10 to try it for free. All right, so you can have up to $10 worth of whatever services you want to choose. We want captions. We want to place a new order, and captions is what I pretty much use. I have used transcriptions before. You will then have some options to how you can upload a video. You can upload it directly from your computer. You can share a link to another video, or I quite often use Dropbox. You can just create a Dropbox link and just put it in there. I tend to use that, or you can, if the video is on YouTube or Vimeo, you can use that. And the reason I probably use a link more than direct upload, it's just quicker. It just purely saves time. My account is linked to my Vimeo account, and you can pick a video. Here's one that I released recently called Best Corporate Video Oscar. Yeah, thank you for all those who liked it and watched it. Yeah, it got a good feedback. And there you can see the video is just under 2 minutes, and it's $2. If your video would be like 2 minutes and 2 seconds, it's going to be $3. Okay, so that's how they work out the timings. When you check out, you got options to pay by MasterCard or PayPal. So, and then once you've paid, they work on it straight away, and they say up to 24 hours. It really depends how long your video is. So my videos tend to be sort of 3 minutes or under. It doesn't take that long. I normally get my SRT file back within a couple of hours. I mean, you can press, there's an option you can press for rush service, and they charge you an extra $1 a minute. In my experience, you don't need to do that, because I think these guys do a really good service and they're really quick. So once your file is ready, you get an email, and basically they'll give you a link to this, okay? And this is the interface. So you can play the video in real time or quickly, and you can just check, make sure that everything is working as it should be. Obviously, Rev.com is an American company, so they default to English US. You can actually, here on the left-hand side, you can actually replace words, US words with UK, which is great. You can replace casual words. So if you're saying, I'm going to do this, or do things like that, you can replace casual words with more formal words. It does that automatically. You can actually come and correct. You can actually come in here and just correct any errors that might be, or something which is not spelt right, or pronunciation. It's quite simple to do, and I'll be honest with you, these guys are pretty accurate. Even though even understand my accent, I reckon that I would say they're 99% accurate most of the time, and I have to do very little changes. So once you're happy with the file, you can press download. Gives you loads of options. You might go, what are all those? What you're looking for is the subret file .srt. That's the one you want. I also will probably do a transcript as well, because therefore I can cut and paste into a blog, or if I'm putting this on YouTube, I'll probably cut and paste the whole transcription into the description. If you're doing Facebook as well, you will want to do what calls a Facebook ready subret, because Facebook have a slightly different naming convention. Press download, and there you go. So once you have got your SRT file, there's a few options you can do with that. You know, if you're in a hurry and don't want to do what we call open captions, burn them in, you can upload directly to whatever platform you do. So if your YouTube is your main platform, I wouldn't necessarily burn the captions on YouTube, because YouTube primarily is quite often consumed on a desktop, and their closed caption button is pretty clear on their app. So therefore, I wouldn't do burnt in. I'll just upload an SRT file. Recently, or fairly recently, LinkedIn allow you to actually upload an SRT file. And I said, if you're more in a hurry, all you need to do is upload a file. I can upload a file. When you do, you can just press edit, little pencil here, and there we go. You can upload an SRT file. And here's one I made earlier. Downloaded it, save it, and off you go. All right, and press next. You can then write your post and post it, and there will be on the desktop and on the app, there will be a little CC button. Now, I do tend to burn them in, only because it depends on how the users set up their app on their phone or desktop, whether they have CC automatically enabled or not. So I'm going to make an assumption that most people probably don't. I will discard that, and therefore, to make sure that people can see what I'm doing, you know, I will make sure they're burnt in, and that's the next step that I'm going to cover. So I use a free piece of software called Handbrake, Handbrake.fr. You can download it for Mac or PC, and it's pretty easy to use. And if I come back to my screen, I will show you how I use it. All you have to do is open your video. Here is one. Open your video, and there's quite a lot of what we call default options here. Really depends on what part of the world. If you're in North America, sort of 1080 30p, it's the frame rate is fine. If you're here in Europe, you might want to switch that to what we call 25. But what I'm interested in is the subtitles. So your subtitles, you do have to actually upload an external subtitle track. Here's one I downloaded earlier. The trick is here you've got to press burnt in. Okay, then you have to make sure that is clicked, so it will burn them in. And then you just press start, and off it goes. Now this little program is really good for if you've got a really big file size video, you can reduce it to much smaller. So it does a couple of things. It is basically what we call an encoder. It'll encode your file to smaller, but it has a neat little option here where you can actually burn in your SRT file to make captions. And when it's done, we won't wait till it's done. What I would do is I will play you. And you can see that is what it looks like. I quite like the style. I mean, there's different programs, different styles, but I quite like the way that Handbrake do this, actually. It's clean, it's clear, it's got a nice little drop shadow. It works well. And, you know, try it out and see how you go. Now, I know there are plenty of other ways you can do this. If you're using a professional editing piece of software like Premiere Pro or Apple's Final Cut, you can now import an SRT file into your timeline, and you can adjust it from there. And then when you export it, you can export it burnt in as well. And of course, there are a plethora of apps online where you can upload your video, and it will create a caption file and SRT files for you, and you can make the videos square and vertical and all things like that. I've tried a couple of these. I've tried Subtitle and Clipscribe. Again, it came down to a time thing for me. As a busy business owner and serving my clients, I found them clunky. I found, again, they didn't particularly understand my accent, and so I had to go in and make a lot of corrections. Yes, it's automated, so when you upload the file, it'll basically translate what you're saying, and then you can you know, have the video and you can create different styles and formats. But I just found that it wasn't accurate enough for me, and it's taken far too long to do that. So hence, I will keep trying them. I'm sure they will get better in time. But I basically said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stick with my system at the moment because it's quick and easy. There are loads of services. There's some, I know Splashio.com is slightly different, is that's more hands-on human, and it takes more like 24 hours to turn around, a little bit more expensive. And I'm sure, let me know, I mean, what have you been using to create captions or to reformat your videos? I'm sure there are lots of options out there. So today I just shared you my process. I know there's lots of ways you can do this, and I know there's lots of apps that you can try as well. So let me know what you've been using, let me know what works for you, and share with the group. And I know as the technology gets better, this will become a simpler and easier and cheaper process to do. But at the moment I use Rev.com and Handbrake for my videos, and I hope you found that useful for you as well. So thanks for watching, and I shall see you next week.